Hello crocheters, welcome to Crazy Cool Crochet. This is Sylvia and today we're going to work on this crochet super chunky vest. This is such a versatile, easy to wear, fun to wear crochet wearable, and it is super easy to make. We are using a number 6 super bulky yarn. You can use any number 6 super bulky yarn. And I do not recommend a number 5. I do not recommend doubling up on a 4 or a 3. That won't work because that will not give us the stitch, the look of the stitch that we are working toward. Now, if you saw my crochet super chunky cardigan, that looks very much like the Ariana Grande pink cardigan that was going around a few months ago. We used the same stitch as we did then, the same super bulky yarn, the same great big hook, which by the way, this is a Q or a 16 millimeter hook. But of course, this is an entirely different pattern and a different look altogether. So in addition to the yarn and the hook, we need scissors and a measuring tape. Now you will find the printable pattern at my Etsy shop, which is crazycoolcrochetus.etsy.com. Now for the entirety of this project, you will be working with a very, very loose tension, very loose. Okay, so I'm going to only work from a swatch, just to show you the stitch. So I've started here with 5 chains, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now we're going to work with slip stitches. So skip that very first chain. In the next one, work a slip stitch. So enter the hook and then pull the yarn right through that loop on the hook. Okay, so slip stitch, here's the next one, right through the loop on the hook. Keep that tension super loose. You see how loose this is? That's important. And then the last one. So I started with a chain of 11 and I have 10 stitches worked. So for a size small, we are going to chain 66 and then we're going to work for 65 slip stitches. And then chain 1 and turn. And this will be a repeat row. So from now on, we are working in the back loop only. Okay, so turn this toward you so you see the chains right there. So you're working in the back loop for a slip stitch. Turn this toward you. There's the back loop. And you're working in every stitch. Keep it loose, keep it loose. And now the last one is a little bit tricky if you did it too tight, which apparently I did. So shove that in there. Slip stitch, chain 1, and turn. And then you're just going to repeat them. So for size small, we're doing a total of 31 rows. And there should be approximately 11 inches wide. Okay, now let me explain the length of the panel is the back, the shoulder, and the front, because we're going to fold it. Let me show you that. So this is one of the panels, and we make two identical panels. Okay, so we were working this way, and when we seam the panels together, we're going to fold this so that this is the shoulder, this is the back, and this is the front. So this is how it's worn. So that these rows are going up and down now. And you can see very clearly how it looks like a knit stitch. That's what we're going for. It looks like knit. It's very stretchy. So now the length of this is 38 inches approximately. It depends entirely on your yarn, how stretchy it is, and once it's on the body, it will stretch even more. And we're going to add a little more length with a little bit of a border on the bottom. But if you do want this longer, feel free to add chains on the foundation chain. There's no multiple. So as many chains as you want to add length, that's fine. Now we are going to seam in the center, the back, the front. So we want the panels wrong sides up. So to determine which is the wrong side and which is the right side. The right side is the side where you have your foundation chain beginning here. So this is the tail from the foundation chain. So this is the right side. So that's the wrong side. Okay, so place the panels side by side just to make it easier. And make sure they're both in the same direction. Okay, so the tail from the foundation chain is at the top. And there's the second panel, there's the tail from the foundation chain is at the top. Wrong side's up. So now take your two panels, and we are going to work with a smaller hook, just like one size smaller than we've been using. So I'll be using a P as in Paul. Now this is going to sound and look and feel a little bit tricky where we are entering the hook, and we're going to be working with slip stitches still. Now if you notice, the first row of stitches on the one panel looks different from the row of stitches on the other panel. This is the top of that panel, this is the bottom where we started the foundation chain. So in order to have an aesthetically pleasing front with the seam, we're going to go under two rows here on this front panel. We're going to go under, see the chains right there? We're going under that row right through into that big space there and all the way out. So typically you would go under that first row there, but we're going under the second row. Okay, so that's 1, 2. We're going under the chain. Okay, so let me attach the yarn into the very first stitch. Leave a tail. Now situate your hook under the very first stitch of the other panel. You're going under 2 stitches on that other panel. So now grab the yarn, pull it through the 2 stitches, pull it through that first panel, and do a chain that locks it in. Okay, so now from that panel that's closest to you, there's your chain, there's your first row, the foundation chain over there, this is the second row. Go through that big space all the way out. Now in the next row, go under the next stitch 2 strands. Grab your yarn, pull it all the way through, go through the loop on the hook for the slip stitch. Okay, so now there's the next big space. And there's the next stitch on the second panel. Grab the yarn, pull it through and through the stitch on the hook. And continue across. I'll show you in just a minute what it's going to look like from the front. So there we go. So you can see how this row of the chain, I'm calling it a chain stitch, that's not what it is, it's the slip stitches. It looks like chains. So there's that row, there's that row. So there's that in-between row, there's the in-between row. So this way we keep the pattern going, even after we seam. So now, because we are going to have a very deep neck opening, we're only going to seam for 9 inches. So from the bottom up, or to your preference. If you want to tighten up, maybe you don't want to wear something underneath this, then you can go up higher and make it a more shallow neck opening. I want a nice deep opening, so I'm only going up for 9 inches. Then tie off the yarn, and then we're going to do the other side for the back seam. When you finish seaming your 9 inches, you do your last stitch, your last slip stitch, grab the yarn, go through that last loop. I like to do 2 chains here. You'll see why in a minute. Let me cut this off. Leave a tail about 6 inches long. Pull the yarn through. And then squeeze down those chains that you made. And that creates a super tight knot. Okay, now you want to hide the tail by weaving it through several stitches over here. And then, well, just through one strand. Through several stitches, and then tie it off again, and you'll be done. Now for the back seam, I left a 19-inch opening for the head, and then I started seaming from here to the end. So where the front was 9 inches, this one is 11 inches, but entirely customizable. This still had a little bit of a V-neck opening in the back. If you'd rather have it closed up, then go a couple more inches and then seam from there. Now we will seam the sides. So now to seam the sides, we have the panels folded over. There's your shoulder, there's your neck opening. Wrong side's up, and now we're going to seam from the bottom up. And you can decide the width of your armhole opening. I want it nice and wide, nice and open, so I'm going to only seam up for 7 inches and then stop. Now the side seam will be easier because here we've got the 2 edges that look identical. And now we're just going to go under the 2 strands on each panel with the same slip stitch. So now here you can again determine the size of the armhole opening that you prefer. And if you'd like, you can go ahead and put a stitch marker so you know where to stop. So you're seaming up and then stopping where you prefer. Wrong side's up, of course. So now we are going to add a ribbed border to the bottom. So you've got the vest right side out. This is the top, so you've got the bottom over here. You're going to be working on the bottom, of course. I like to start in the corner or on the side seam. Now we will be working with the smaller hook again. Now try to always work under 2 strands of yarn. So attach the yarn, do a chain to lock it in. And now, because the bottom is so wide, you're going to want to narrow it down a little bit. So you do not need to work into every row or every stitch. You can skip stitches as you're going along. For example, right here, well, let me show you. You don't want to go here because there's only 1 strand. So go under a second strand and do a single crochet. So we will be working with single crochets. Now you will have to use your best judgment as to where to be skipping. Okay, so just do that all the way around. Now when you come back around to where you started, slip stitch into the first stitch, chain 1, and turn. Now we're going to enter a single crochet into each single crochet around. Only this time we're working in the back loop only again. Okay, so the back loop only, single crochet. This is what creates the ribbing. Now, do keep in mind that by design, this was supposed to be a wide vest, a wider garment. So don't, unless you want to, you don't have to narrow the bottom too much. If you do want it even more narrow, then on this row you can also skip here and there a stitch if you want. Okay, so back loop only, single crochet all the way around until you come back to where you started, slip stitch into the first stitch, chain 1, turn again, and we're going to repeat the row. Okay, now I decided to go with 6 rows on mine because I did need more length. So I did 6 rows of the single crochet, back loop only, and that actually does look nicer anyway with the 3 ribs here. But again, entirely up to you. So now we are going to clean up the neck, the neckline. Okay, so you can attach your yarn anywhere and do single crochets again. And you are working front facing you. It's probably better to attach it in the back. So again, you're going under 2 strands. Chain 1, 2, lock in the yarn, and then this time you do want to work in every stitch. Stay regular single crochet. Just go all the way around. When you come back, you can slip stitch into the first single crochet and tie off the yarn. And here we are with the completed super chunky crochet vest. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to go to my Etsy shop where you can get the printable pattern, crazycoolcrochet us.etsy.com. Thank you.